what it is. Oh, what's up? Every good girl needs a little thug. What's up, bitches? I am back. Last year I already did freshman year and sophomore year. This year I'm introducing the exciting and depressing junior year. Okay, honestly, junior year wasn't that bad only a bit towards the end, but that was because of some like personal life issues and because of the AP workload catching up with me. But honestly, junior year was a bit better than sophomore year, and sophomore year was a bit better than freshman year, so I would say it's not bad. And this is my chart, so I'll probably be putting it here, or I'll just like cover my whole face up. Anyways, this year I decided not to use the tier ranking format, even though that one is more controversial and more interesting. I'm going with this alignment chart because I realized that a very difficult class can be enjoyable too, but a very easy class can also be very miserable. On the vertical axis, you'll see on the top it's light work, no reaction. And on the bottom it's okay, it's got a little kick. And on the horizontal axis, you'll see on the right, it's lay the house down, Boots Houston, I'm deceased. I can't type the whole thing because it has a word limit, sadly. And on the left, it was, the fuck was that? Genuinely captures my emotions for certain classes. Well, according to the order of my classes, the first one I took, which is like the first block of Monday and Thursday morning, is AP Lang. The second one is bio, just like high school honors bio, and it's the bacteria one. The third one is study hall. I don't have one for that because I don't have a lot to say about study hall. It's amazing. Fourth one is AP research, which is it's finally over, the paper is finished, / musical, because I did both at the same time. I'll explain that later. Musical is the dancing Eminem guy, because that's basically what I did in musical. The fourth / fifth class is the one I took Tuesday morning, the first class of Tuesday, which is calculus. It's a meme. The second one is pre-college, which is the cat with a bunch of loading icons. And the third one is AP art history, which is the medieval baby. That is classic. The fourth one, which is the last one, is AP micro and AP macro. They are both semester classes, so I took both of them in the same year, and I'll represent them together because they're basically the same. And with the stocks meme, let's begin. For AP Lang, my teacher will watch this video, definitely, because he watched one last year and he complained to me through an email, but it's okay, we're on good terms. I hope he doesn't chase me out next year. I hated the timed assessment part of each class. So basically, towards the end of the year, every day when we enter, especially Mondays are the worst. Like, you start school, you start the week with a timed writing assessment. And the timing of AP Lang essays is just unreasonable and ungodly. Why? Because you have only like 45 minutes for each essay, and on the exam you'll have to write 3 consecutive essays, no breaks in between. It's basically a wrist exercise, and I goddamn hate it. Like, you can't really like release your creative energy or really write a well thought out opinion piece. No, you just have to like follow the format, use sentence frames that you've practiced like a billion times over the year, use the same evidence again and again. So like the time that writing part is kind of similar to the AP seminar exam, because I took it last year, I know. So it's kind of suitable for taking it in the same year, even though I would advise you against taking 2 Ciencio classes in the same year, because you'll have to do like time assessments in class, well, like 4 classes in the same week, which is bad. Well, like, my performance really varies in the time assessments. Synthesis essay, rhetorical analysis, and an argument essay. For the argument essay, I hated the most because you have to come up with your own evidence, and it's so hard to come up with your own evidence on spot within 45 minutes. The argument essay, I would say, like, I love when we actually prepared a bulk of evidence that you can like just use on the essay. Honestly, I wish the teacher would have done it earlier. I love the summer reading though, The Coddling of the American Mind, because you can basically apply it to any sort of argument topic. Yeah, I would advise you to like get a handful of evidence that you know would be handy for any sort of argument topic. There's also an MCQ portion on the exam, and it's basically like the SAT but easier, and you can't really practice for the MCQ part, so I didn't really like doing timed MCQs in class as well. The questions are so ambiguous. Honestly, the class is just like preparing you for the exam. Well, towards the fuck was that? Next one is biology. Biology, full of drama, because like in our school, at least, I don't know if I will have other audience other than students from our school, honestly, but basically there was originally a teacher, and his class was really not structured but also really advanced at the same time, so I honestly don't know what I learned from it. He got fired midway, and so we got a new teacher. He taught by the textbook, which was much more structured. I think I learned a lot more, but again, the material is less difficult. Slay the house down. Wait, no, but the first part, the drama, is honestly too bad. I'll put it in the middle. And towards that work, no reaction, because there was not a lot of homework, especially with the second teacher. The first teacher, his guidelines were just really fucking ambiguous. Like, he said he didn't like to give tests, but then he gave tests, but then he didn't have a standard to grade them by. And honestly, I don't think he looked at any of our assignments. Yeah, next one, study hall. Don't need to judge that. 10 out of 10, 5 stars on Yelp. The only thing I would suggest is for you to take one study hall in either block 1 or block 2, because in our school, at least, block 1 and block 2 classes get repeated on Wednesday. I took one Monday block 3, so I don't have any study halls on Wednesday. And I really hate Wednesdays because the classes are so close and so intense. Next, the last class on Monday, which is AP Research. Are also part of the capstone program. Basically, after you take AP Seminar, you take AP Research. And the difference is that in AP Research, you submit only one research paper with like 4,500 to 5,000 words, I think, or 4,000 to 5,000, I forgot, to the College Board. And you also make a presentation called the POD. Honestly, half of the time, I didn't know what I was doing. The bulk of the writing was done towards March. And I think the reason why I didn't know what I was doing, because one, I chose the idea late. I only decided to go with like color psychology late summer break. I chose color psychology plainly because I like art, and I think it would be cool to learn a few things about color theory, and plus art therapy sounds cool. Yeah, originally I was going in the art therapy direction, but no, I changed it afterwards. It went through a lot of like metamorphosis. It goes by components, so like you write the intro and the review first, and then the methodology, and then the results and the discussion and the conclusion, right? I don't really like writing it in such a straightforward way because of how inchoate my idea was in the beginning. I don't think starting with introduction and lit review helped. I kind of only got what my research was about after I did the experiment, which was not a good example. Please don't follow this example. I got mixed up so much towards the end because I didn't know where I was going. But I edited my intro and lit review so much in the end that it basically didn't look anything like what I wrote in the beginning. Yeah, I only rushed the writing in spring break. That's a reasonable timeline, I would say, so you can feel comfortable about procrastinating a little bit. And also, I would suggest not to do a mix of qualitative and quantitative because that was what I wanted to go for. Honestly, it worked out because I got a 5. It was really confusing because I didn't have a stats background. I didn't feel comfortable doing a full-on quantitative research. So psychology was kind of a perfect field because psychology is the less quantitative of all the STEM and science-y subjects. Yeah, it was really hard for me to find a quantitative method to approach with my data because I collected so much data and there are so many angles to cut through. Please don't do this. Control most variables. Find an approach before you begin collecting the data. Also, he would tell you to do annotated bibliography, but honestly it didn't really help me. I think my entire paper was just anchored on the 3 anchor pieces that I had. It's okay to not have a lot of sources in the beginning. You'll fill it up eventually with those like random citations that you drop in your paragraphs to support your statements. I felt really insecure about that class. Turns out it was fine. Trust Mr. Roy. I think the individual feedback did really help. Most of the time we did individual work, which is why I could go to musical at the same time. So let's transition into musical. This year I went to some AP research classes, and sometimes when we were doing independent work, I would go to musical, even though most of the musical practice was done very late. Only towards the actual like rehearsals and the actual performance did I really go every single class, because honestly in the beginning I don't know what we were doing there. It was just like really scattered, not a lot of morale. People didn't know what they were doing, did not memorize the script until the performance, but we got it together in the end. And I guess it happens to all theater classes. It's just a little bit chaotic, but honestly I had a lot of fun. I love theater, I love to dance, I love to perform. Obviously if you are a very organized girly, maybe musical is not for you, but I just embrace the chaos of it all, and it's really chill. I am so glad I took it. I will take it again next year. It just releases the creative energy in me. So I will put musical in light work, no reactions, lay the house down, boots, Houston, I'm deceased. So I would say I lacked a bit in the choreography, but I wish there was a more coherent schedule so I can go more frequently, I would say. Moving on to the Tuesday classes, the first one was AP Calculus. The first thing I would say is that it's not as bad as people make it out to be. People say AP Calc is so hard. I like it personally. I don't know why. I liked it more than pre-calculus and algebra. Maybe it's because it's more theoretical, I heard. So I took BC, right? I skipped AB because AB and BC honestly have a lot of overlapping areas. Only with, let me see. Yeah, so BC is basically AB but with a few extra chapters with like polar, parametrics, vectors, and series. I hated the extra few chapters. Maybe it's because we had to rush through it because like the teacher had an unexpected delay in the schedule, so we had to rush through the next few chapters. We focused more on practicing with the AB section. So I really like the AB part. I think I really got a grasp on it, and it's also a easy course to get a 5 because of the crazy curve. And Robert doesn't really check your assignments, so you have to like really practice on your own. I did a couple of mock tests. I didn't do all of them, but I would say like doing the mocks really did help, and checking with the answers so you would know what they expect for an FRQ, how you should write it. My strategy on the exam was really to skip all the BC questions that I didn't know, and I got a 5, so I would say it worked out. I would hope for Robert to like quicken up the pace though, because I would really love to have more practice on the BC section. It just felt bad not to know how to solve a question when you encounter it, you know. I will put calculus in the second. The BC only chapters do have a little kick, but it's on the border. And I would say slay the house down, boots, Houston, I'm deceased. And the next Tuesday class is pre-college, which I don't know if other schools have, but it's basically this class that all juniors are required to take. It will teach you and ask you to write college essays. So basically you have to write a personal statement, an activity essay, and a academic interest essay. I like the class because towards the end it was basically just study hall. So it gave me so this entire year I actually had like maybe 3 study halls if AB research counts as one. Again, like AB research, I didn't know what I was doing half of the time. I would have preferred if the class began with like college research and teaching the different components of the like maybe at least common app, so that we would get a better hang of where the essay is situated and why we have to write the essays, and like how heavy it is, well, how important it is compared to other aspects of the application, instead of having to figure it out by ourselves this summer. Right now, there were some classes dedicated to like mapping out your life or like figuring out what's an essential trait of yours, but they were, well, I didn't know how important they were until we started writing the essay, so I wish that would be emphasized, I guess. Which is why it's a loading cat icon, because I didn't know what I was doing half of the time. So I'll give it light work, no reaction, and slay the house down, boots, just because it's mostly study hall. And so the second to last class is AP Art History. It's one of my favorite classes of the year, but also the one that made me the most insecure, and the one that I worked the hardest on, and the one that I was the most gratified getting a 5. So why is this class so unique? Honestly, I've been like fascinated by art history have been fascinated by art history for a long time, and one thing I regret is going to France without having taken art history before, because there are so many art history pieces in France, and I wished I would have like known better. But basically it's so cool because you get to learn about all these different cultures. It's very inclusive, and it's also very detailed, depending on how much you study, of course, but like it's just so, I don't know, it's just so fascinating. I recommend everybody to take it. Make yourself a more cultured person. Even though like I was so insecure about getting a 5 because of the essay writing portion, and because you had to memorize so much for the identification of the essays. The MCQs were pretty easy. I would say the essay is where I struggled with the most. Even though it's really hard to get a 5 in my opinion, I would say it's really worth it. Like, I was prepared not to get a 5, but I was prepared to still love the class regardless. And I took extensive as fuck notes. I'll probably like put a screen recording here. My good notes was consumed by my art history notes. So many fucking timelines. I read through the entire thing before the exam. I took late testing, so I had the privilege of studying more. Well, it's because it clashed with my macro exam, so I'm not taking late exam as an excuse. It was just like coincidental, and I was so fortunate to get that, even though I do not advised late testing because you lose the fucking drive when everybody was done with their tests and summer was kicking in and it was so hot and you just don't want to study, so please don't do late testing if you can avoid it. I would say please go to Khan Academy. Khan Academy was my love. I studied based off the teacher slides, Khan Academy, and some AP videos, even though the AP videos don't really cover all the artwork. Question mark. I'm gonna put AP Art History in Oh It's Got a Little Kick, but also Slay the House Down Boots, Houston, I'm deceased. The last one is AP Micro Macro. So why did I say AP Micro Macro are pretty similar? Because the first 3 chapters are basically the same. Scarcity, what else? Demand, supply, that kind of stuff. I really love the class, but partly it's because I am pretty good at econ in general. When I took like high school economics, I knew that I liked the subject. I would say micro is much easier than macro. Admit it. No other opinions. You're entitled to your wrong opinion, but those are still wrong opinions, babe. Definitely micro is easier because you just have to know the graphs. If you know the graphs at the back of your hand, you'll slay the exam. Macro got really confusing in the end because of the loanable fund market, the interest rates, price level, export import things. The theories all got entangled and there are so many ways to interpret the same question, so it was not straightforward at all, unlike micro. So I prefer micro so much more, but honestly those are really similar. I suggest you to take those at the same time. That's my ranking my junior year classes video. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments of any video ideas I have, because honestly this brain is a bit empty right now. So please comment down below what I can talk about. And with that, I'll see you next time with whatever videos I have, because my brain needs to rest out. Peace out.